What's going on, everybody? I'm your host Sean with Paper Planes, and welcome back to episode number 8 of my ultimate walkthrough for Dark Souls 2. Last episode we killed the Dragon Rider. He was pretty easy, and we're at the bonfire just after that boss fight. And we're gonna go back to Mula to spend our souls. Going shopping. We're just gonna level up a little bit. So, and after we do that, we're gonna be headed to No Man's Wharf. No Man's Wharf, you know, that place. Where's our lady? There she is.
Bearer of seek less.
Alright, so we're gonna go to the level up, and let's see where we're at. Okay, so I want to continue on with attunement, and I'm gonna try to get that up to 30. So 5 points spent there. Alright, very nice. I want to make sure that our equipment is nice and leveled up. Do I have any more stones? What am I doing here? Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure. Make sure that you guys have purchased the Pharaoh's Lockstone. If you haven't purchased it yet, go grab it from Malentia right here. Or if you haven't got the other one, it is all the way in that house over there. So make sure that you've got both stones. You should have already used one if you're following along. But if not, we have the ability to get 2 stones up to this point. You don't have to use the next stone in the No Man's Wharf, but it kind of makes things a little bit easier. I personally don't use it, but for this guide I'm going to show you how to use it and use it in this episode. Okay, so need to go back to Heide's Tower of Flame and go to the Tower of Flame bonfire. Alright, so we're just going to run along here. Now, remember last episode I talked to you about that specific vendor, so if you guys want some faith-based miracles, be sure to purchase them from her there. Alright. Oops. I knew there was a guy here. Monastery Charm, let's check this guy out. The Monastery Charm is a blessed charm, cures poison, and restores hit points. Many such charms were blessed in reconstructed ancient ceremonies, carried out in the monastery of Lindelt, now known as the new home of miracles. Though it may lack the power of an original, in circumstances dire enough, an imitation can be quite enough. Excellent. We won't be using that anytime soon. Alright, so we're going to move a little bit slow through here. There's going to be some bad boys around. Nothing new. Nothing that we haven't dealt with before. Oh shit. That was lame. Hey buddy. You've got these pillars here to use to your advantage if you need them. But same thing as always, just get behind them, give them a little bit of space, and we'll come in for the kill. This guy is guarding some loot back here. You get the human effigy, and you get your first dark trochet. So let's check out that. So these are inexplicably pungent odor, temporarily boost dark defense. Verbal histories often mention Saint Elizabeth. Her uniquely Her uniquely concocted medicines and potions are still widely used today. So just like it says, it increases your dark defense. Let's see what else we got here. Oops, get out of the menu there. Soul of a Proud Knight. And the Old Knight Halberd. This is obviously a weapon. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it does here. You can see it's a massive weapon. It's going to take 16 strength and 20 dexterity to equip this and wield it effectively. Now you can two-hand it, of course, and you don't need to use as many stats as required to one-hand wield this item. Let's check it out. The Old Knight Halberd, an undated halberd. The word halberd is weird. Okay, obviously it's spelled halberd, but I've always heard it pronounced halberd, so I don't know why, but maybe it's just like an English version of American word and British word kind of deal. Wielded by a warrior from a time so ancient that there exists no record of his endeavors, has extremely low durability, sometimes just a thing falls to pieces. Sometimes just as a thing falls to pieces, it unleashes its last flash of great power. I am like way off my reading game right now. Gotta get this shit together. Alright, so we're gonna head down here. You can hear some enemies down below. Nothing new, same thing, just knights. I don't know why that guy didn't die with 4 hits. Normally 4 is enough to kill him with this weapon right now. Interesting. Okay, so I know that you guys see this area and you're probably a little bit timid at first, but once again, there's nothing down here that we can't handle. I cannot figure out why 4 hits isn't killing him right now. Yeah, and the reason I didn't take a left back there is because there's actually nothing there to loot. So when you come out of that opening into this circular hallway, there's actually nothing there for you to grab. So just go to the right. Now we going down. I'll be honest, when I first played, when I got to this area, I expected this zone to be extremely dangerous. I kept seeing all these notes and bloodstains and watching the bloodstains and seeing people die to things that I just didn't see how it was happening. I thought there were some real serious monsters here. I thought there were booby traps all over the place. But it's just a very simple area, and as long as you take it slow, just like anything else, you're going to be able to deal with these guys. I think because it's the water, people are moving slow and they're having trouble. Pick that up. It's a ghost. Alright, so open this bad boy up. Like you can see my footprints there. And here we get the Knight Armor set. This is definitely a nice little set to have if you like to tank damage, but it makes you extremely slow. It's really heavy, but we'll take a look at it real quick. We'll just look at the chest piece and read about it. Knight Armor, metal armor worn by knights, standard issue for new Dranglic knights. Knights have long trusted this armor for its excellent functionality. Go down this hallway here. Hey, look, there's a doorway. Maybe it leads to something later. So yeah, that's it for this area. We're gonna go to the bonfire now. And after we get to the bonfire, that's when we finally get to No Man's Wharf. Wharf. I love that word. I always think about Ren and Stimpy when I see it. Wharf! The hairball sound. I know a lot of you, especially on your first playthrough, when you come through this area, you're expecting some seriously dangerous things. But it's all good. It's just a bonfire. And you'll see on what this is called is actually the unseen path to Heide. So if we go to No Man's Wharf, this is actually the name of the bonfire, Unseen Path to Heide. So this is our first bonfire in No Man's Wharf. And you can talk to this NPC if you like. They're actually going to assist you in the boss fight in No Man's Wharf if you choose to. I like to exhaust all conversation options with NPCs. Now, you don't need to use them for the boss fight, but it's going to make it really easy, especially if you're doing ranged attacks. Typically, if I'm going to do melee attack against the boss in No Man's Wharf, then I won't summon this NPC. But if you're doing ranged, they basically serve as a tank and bait, so the boss will hardly ever come after you, if at all. So for our purpose, the way that we're going to fight the boss in this walkthrough, we will be summoning this NPC. So it is a good idea to converse with them, just to get a better understanding of actually what you're summoning. Now this is the danger zone. Right when you walk in here, there's going to be archers firing fire arrows at you, so you can see them off in the distance. It's coming at me. There it is. So be aware. The archers are all over the place. There's also enemies that throw jars of oil at you. So if you've got oil and then you get hit with a fire arrow, it's not a good time. So you need to be cautious of that. There's also these enemies, I think they're called dark stalkers. They basically are like two-legged daddy long legs or something. They're just crazy weird, and they're very powerful because they've got long range and they make you bleed through blocks. So the best way to deal with them is pyromancy damage, fire damage, or actually have a torch in hand. If you've got a lit torch in your hand, then the enemies will actually flee from you. They hate light, and that's actually what we want the Pharaoh's Lockstone for, is because when we apply it here, it's going to produce a lot of light in the area, and then all the dark stalkers will flee their little hidden zones and go into the bottom of houses to avoid the light emanating from this giant overhead torch, essentially. So we'll get to that when we get to it, but just understand that for our purpose, the best way to kill them at this point will be with our soul arrows, because fighting them ranged keeps you out of danger, and it also stuns them over and over again. So even if you're up close and you hit them with a spell, it's going to stun them and give you enough time to hit them with a consecutive spell and a consecutive spell. So if you're doing that with your melee weapon, you're probably not going to stun them, and they're going to hit you at the same time. So it's not a good combination. There is a fake dead zombie here. Well, he's not fake, he's real, but... And if I hit him, obviously targeting is best, but you can't target something when it's not active. So you have to wait until it actually wakes up to target it. Now we can of course do our ranged attack with our binoculars if we want. Let's try to center this guy up. A little bit off there. I hate the arrows. They kind of arc and it's annoying. They don't arc like north to south. They arc towards you like they're homing. Alright, we're a little bit too far away. You can actually take the damage. It's not much. Okay. So when that guy's dead, then we can just come in and fight these guys melee. You don't even need to really take caution with them. They're so easy and weak with damage. So we can see enemies out on the playing field, and that's the torch that we're going to light in a moment. But when you see these guys just set up, you can pick them off before you ever get to them. Alright, come on, buddy. And you can see these guys do, they take a lot of damage to sorcery if their shield isn't up. So just clearing them out makes things nice and easy. We should be able to see a couple more in a moment. But there are 2 guys in this room over here. I'd like to start off with this one. That way the other guy's already standing when I get to him. Alright, so when you see stuff like this, bookcases, tables, boxes, barrels, I personally am under the belief that it's a good thing to always destroy them because you never know what could be hidden behind them or underneath them. So I will point out to you that in some instances there are traps, so especially in this level. So we're going to get to a zone where there's a trapped bunch of vases, and you do not want to just roll into those because you will get poisoned and you're going to have a bad time. So here's an enemy up here. There's the oil throwing guy. So you can take him out with range if you like, or we can just come in and melee him. These guys are really simple. If you just hold up your shield, you won't have a problem at all. We get this drop from him. It's a sword, but it's not an everyday drop. So it's not a guaranteed drop that you're going to get this straight sword. But we can check it out while we can. Varangian sword. Straight sword wielded by Varangians and engraved with a skull. A former king launched a campaign to capture these terrors of the high seas, but rather than imprison them, forced them into hard labor at no man's wharf. So yeah, that's a decent weapon. It's kind of fun little lore item, but we're not going to be using that. And that's it for this area right now. We can go back down. And this whole zone is just killing enemies building by building, picking up loot. There's tons of loot here, so there's lots of souls to get. This is a safe... Oh, shit. That fucking ghost made me jump. I was like, this is a safe zone, and right when I was saying that, this little bastard came out of nowhere. So we already killed the enemies that were camped out in here because we fired from range at the guy standing on the rooftop, and it triggered the other 2 enemies to come out of their building. But if you can see, and I don't know if it's light enough for you guys to see, but there is one of the Dark Stalkers chilling out in there. Now, he's not going to come after you unless you attack him or you move close enough to that building. But he's really easy to kill, so I'm going to do so. And I'll just show you. See, he gets kind of like stun locked just from the sorcery. So I can kill him very easily from ranged. Even if I get in close, I'll be able to stun him with my sorcery and kill him very simple. So that's just a drop from him. And then we get the iron arrow from this corpse that's always sitting there. And now I know this zone is dark, and that's really the main reason why I suggest using the Pharaoh's Lockstone if you're struggling with your sight. So you can, of course, turn the brightness up. I don't do that. I like to play the game kind of like the way it's intended, you know, when they tell you, okay, adjust brightness so that you can barely see this and that you can't see that. I really play it just like it's supposed to be. That way I can get surprised by things that are intended to surprise me and just overall enjoy the game a little bit more. Because if you're playing with your brightness settings all the way up, it's so easy to see and things don't startle you that much. Like this enemy up here, you might not be able to see him if you're not expecting him, but since I'm expecting him, he's got no way to surprise me. Well, you can see how beneficial having sorcery is. Now we've got some guys on the right that we can take care of. There's going to be a dog, which is really easy, and then this guy as well. He won't even get a chance to come after us, but the dog probably will. So you're going to jump off of the binoculars, get your shield, and lock onto this guy. And now what you want to do with the dogs, they're really simple. They only have 1 attack, and they just leap at you. So you can target them and then step backwards Or if this guy just surrenders like he did. Let's see if we'll get him to come after us. Alright. He might come. Come on, puppy. There he goes. Oh, shit. I forgot I had the binoculars. Okay, so you just step backwards, and you can see that he's got a bleed attack, but it's really weak. So they're not going to do shit to you. They've just got that one attack, but it can startle you if you don't know they're there. Alright, we're back on the binocular. We can see the guy. There's two archers up top. You see one of them there, and one right there. They're kind of hard to hit from here, but if you zero in on them, try to get them center screen, you should be okay. There we go. Let's get his buddy. Wow. What the fuck was that? Almost. Okay, cool. Now you don't have to go about this. These enemies aren't dangerous enough to really take this much care, but it is obviously beneficial if you can clear out as many threats as possible without getting close in combat. So we can see here that this is where our Pharaoh's Lockstone is. We're just going to examine this and use the stone, and you're going to see this whole area gets brightened up by this torch above us. Let's see if we can get a better look at it. There it is. And that sound you hear is all the dark stalkers basically fleeing their area. And we'll be able to kill them eventually if you want. But it's just a way that in the future, if you're trying to move through this zone a little bit faster, if you come back here for whatever reason, you can really just sprint through the open areas and see what you need to see. Whereas before, it was really difficult to navigate without knowing the area because you just can't see what's in front of you. Alright, so we're going to go back the way we came. We're going to make sure that we cover every single area. So this is where that enemy was standing that we killed earlier, and the two guys came out from the left and right zone here. So we're all good now. We can go in this building. You see we got our enemy here. Shield up. You can let them hit you if you want, and then retaliate. Now here you see this message, hidden path ahead. There won't always be a message there, especially if you haven't been connected online long enough. But you're going to get this Ring of Life Protection. And this is basically the same thing as the Dark Souls ring, the Ring of Sacrifice, I believe it was called. It's basically a ring that if you die, you're going to keep all your souls. It mitigates death, essentially. So let's check it out real quick. It's this guy up in the top corner here. Nullifies death but breaks. So it's a one-use item. If you die while wearing it, it's going to be destroyed. Divine ring that watches over one's life. Created by the students of Ivory Roan's Sage of Lindell. Its great protective power will protect you from any loss upon death. But after its power is spent, the ring will break. Excellent. Okay, so we're never going to be wearing that unless we're in a zone that's really difficult and we're trying to do something that we're not really equipped to do. So we got this guy to the left here. He's not going to be any kind of problem for us. Just let him go crazy there. We got another guy across, obviously, throwing pots. Kill him the same way. Grab this item drop. Now these guys will actually drop their armor set and weapons pretty easily. It's a good place to farm them if you want. I think this is a quick place to farm a decent amount of souls early on in this level. You can run through here and kill a lot of those Varangians pretty simply. Hurrah for Pointless! Yep. Don't need to go up here, but even if you know there's nothing up here, I always suggest exploring all the areas thoroughly, because once you know that there's no enemy in the area where you just were at, you can safely navigate and discover the zone for yourself. There's always something you can learn. There's always an item that you might have missed out on. So wandering around, checking out everything is the best way to go about it. Now you can hear there's a dog. Having a good headset on is the best way to play this game, so you can actually hear things before you see them. Your hearing is your best form of defense. So we see this dog here. He'll come at us eventually. I mean, they're such weak enemies. They're not like in the original Dark Souls where those dogs were way more aggressive. They were on you a lot faster and they were much harder to fight. So yeah, you can't climb up these stairs. Don't try. Don't spend time trying to get up there. It's just not going to happen. But we'll keep moving out here. Now, normally there would be some dark stalkers right here. And these are probably the ones that'll give you the most trouble. But you can see they're all chilling out in there now. And we've also got a vendor, a merchant up top. And this guy will actually buy some of your loot. So if you've got a bunch of items that you're trying to sell or get rid of, it's pretty awesome. Now, you don't need to watch your back too much because these guys won't come out in the light. See, that one sees you and it wants to attack you right now, but it does not like the light, so it's going to stay inside. And that's really the biggest purpose of lighting that huge lantern. So let's check out the emit force item that we just picked up. It's going to be in the spell section. We can see here this is a miracle. A miracle derived from force emits a forward-moving shockwave. Throughout history, there have been many examples of imitative miracles. When discerning original from imitator is nigh on... Why do they talk like this? Is nigh on impossible, which hardly matters. Okay, which hardly matters. It's just so weird to read sometimes. Yeah, so you can pick these guys off same way we have been. Ranged attacks. No worries here. It's just so simple. Alright, let's see what we got. Another long sword. So that's, for instance, something that we could sell if we wanted to now, because we don't need that item, and it's a basic item. It's not a rare item. So it's a good way to make some extra souls. Now once you open this, roll away. There's going to be some bad boys in there, and if you stand by the door long enough, they're actually going to break down the wall. So you got to protect yourself there. We can get that guy to come out a little bit. And then we can start using some, there he goes. Oh, I thought he was going to break the wall finally. No, we don't need him to. We can just kill him right there. You can see his buddies in there. There he goes. Alright. Come on. Now you'll be able to see, he won't be able to get close to me at all. We're in the darkness. And that's not why he can't attack me. He can't attack me because he was getting hit by my magic and it keeps him stunned. Now there's another one in here. You can see him up in the hole there. So we can start attacking him. But once you move into that room, he's gonna jump on you. So you want to use your ranged attack while you can. There you go. So not only do these guys, if you stand by the door, you're going to get hit with some damage because they break through the wall. But if you move in here after you kill those two thinking you just did good, you're going to get pounced on by that third one and you'll be in close. And that's when you're in total danger with those enemies, is because now you're in close to them. And that's the only time they're really deadly. Here's the last one. See how close we are? He's going to hit you, cause a lot of bleeding. So 2 swings will actually get you bled, and if you're successfully bled, you're probably going to die. Alright, so watch out for that hole. It's just a nuisance. It's not going to hurt you if you fall. And there's our vendor. We'll deal with him in a second. But there's 2 chests here, and one of them is trapped. And usually when a note is in front of a chest, it's going to be booby trapped. So be wary of blocking isn't a bad thing. It basically, if this is trapped with arrows, you want to have your shield up. If it's trapped with green poison, then you want to evade. You can evade both things, but you still probably get hit with an arrow. So you want to look at it. Alright, so it's white, so you know it's an arrow. So we can block twice, and then we get hit with a third one. What I would suggest is when you see it's an arrow, roll to the side and with your shield up. Now I'm not wasting my Estus flasks because I'm wearing the ring that's healing me. So you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This ring of restoration, that gradually heals my health. So I know if I'm not in combat, I don't have to waste my healing wares on improving my damaged hit points. So we just picked up the great sword. A straight sword with a very long blade, one of a few ultra great swords. No human was intended to wield a sword of this weight or destructiveness. Only a few famed warriors have ever wielded this great blade, for it challenges the very limits of humanity. For it challenges the very limits of human ability. I don't know why I'm reading so horribly. Sorry about all that. But it does have a strength requirement of 28 and a dexterity requirement of 10, which is enormous. That's a lot of strength, and we're not going to put that much strength on this build. Definitely not for a long time if we ever do so. So here we go. Gavlin is a traveling vendor. He's going to leave this area after you do, so you're not going to return back to him to sell here again. So you want to actually sell any of your wares that you've got on you that you won't be using in the future. I don't really think it benefits me enough to sell my items because I might be upgrading them sometime. I might want all daggers of different damage abilities, imbue them with different magical properties and whatnot. So until I know for absolutely certain that I'm never going to use this item, then I'll sell it. But it just doesn't generate enough income to really justify selling items. I suggest keeping them. But if you're really struggling for souls, which should never really happen because you could just farm enemies, but if you are, you can sell your items that you want to. But like I said, I don't suggest doing that whatsoever. You'll see here he's got something that you can get from him, a Ring of Giants. The Ring of Giants is the beloved ring of the gallant shieldless Lothian, formerly of Ferosa, increases poise. Lothian was born a peasant and died a general. His determination and diligence were unmatched, especially on the battlefield, where he earned his name by choosing to fight without a shield. So obviously this is going to increase your ability to take damage without breaking your guard, and that's why having this, if you're fighting without a shield, is important, because it allows you to keep swinging through, tanking damage without holding that shield up. So you get some poison arrows, and we get some poison reduction items here. We've got the poison moss, which is, if you played Dark Souls 1, you kind of understand what the premise of this object is already. But it's a consumable, and it reduces the poison buildup, or it cures poison altogether. And this is an item that you probably want to have a few of, so we're just going to buy one for now. And you can see here we've got the rotten pine resin. You can apply this to your right-handed weapon, and then when you attack an enemy with it, it's going to deal poison damage. Same thing with the poison throwing knife. It's just like the regular throwing knife, except when you hit somebody with it, it's going to cause poison damage. So there we go. And you can talk to him if you want, but he's just going to say the same kind of shit he said already. So his talking cue right here is pretty pointless. Alright, so now we can leave this area. You can just drop out here if you want. Nothing over here. Don't be afraid of this. I don't know why that's there, to be honest with you. It's funny because this is probably, I've played through the zone a couple times, and it's probably the first time that any of these enemies have actually ever hit me. It's really weird. That kind of shit only happens when I'm recording. Alright. So you always want to look around when you're moving up. I suggest keeping your shield up at all times. We're going to hit this lever here, and it's going to bring off the ferry to come over here. Now the boss is actually on that ship, so we're not going to get on that ship until the very end after we clear this whole area. But when you're on these tall points like this, it's a good vantage point to see what's down below you. Now keep in mind that if you haven't used the Pharaoh's Lockstone, you're not going to have this good of a vision because it's going to be really dark in here. But you can see a lot down below you, and you don't see any of those dark stalkers anywhere because they're all fleeing to hide from the light. So don't fall down below right here. Don't try this one. You can land it, but it's pointless. You're going to take damage. This one is where you need to drop down to. You're going to go in here. Now, you want to be really cautious about going down these stairs. I'm about to show you why. There you go. You get some bad friends waiting for you, and there's actually 2 of them. There might be more than 2 when you light the lantern. Also, I want to make sure that you guys are aware at this moment, because we're using our staff so much, if you have your second staff, you want to equip it at this point. See, I don't have it in my inventory. I've actually put the other one in my box. But when you get to this spot, you're going to want to start being cognizant of the fact that your staff is collecting damage. So it is something that you need to be aware of. You probably have some repair powder, so it's something that you want to keep in your inventory as well, because eventually we're going to need it by using this item so much. You want to keep stepping backwards a little bit. Oh shit. Every once in a while you'll get a stray fire. Hopefully this guy comes up. You don't want to keep moving forward because the problem is if you move too far forward while you're casting, you'll fall off the step. And it's okay that we're running out of casts because we have the amber herbs. Here we go, we get some fire arrows. And the fire arrows sitting there, usually when there's an item located somewhere, you have to kind of consider, why did they choose to put that particular item in that particular area? And it's kind of the developer's way of saying, hey, this might help you kill this kind of creature. So yes, the fire arrows are a great way to attack those enemies. You can see we've got another longsword drop, so that's definitely a common item here. I want to point out that this is a great spot to use a sniper vantage point. That guy is an archer and he won't really attack you until you're on the ship, but it's a great way to take care of him beforehand. So we'll try to light him up from here. Got him. Now you don't want to move too close to that edge because, like I said, when you cast a spell, you've got some kind of forward momentum. Same thing, you wouldn't swing a sword when you're standing close to the ledge. You will fall over and you will die. So let's go ahead and use an amber herb. And the great thing about the amber herb is it's going to give us spells for both pretty much anything we have put into our attunement slots. So the way you get off of this is you walk down here. Just want to make sure that we picked up everything that we could. Okay. So we'll go back to our sword. And just to show you that this is death waiting for you down there. You don't need to do anything. You can drop down on this if you want, but there's nothing here either. And now we can hear those bad guys, the dark stalkers. And they only really make these sounds when you're closer to them, or when they're fleeing from the light. So obviously there's a lot of them in here. So we can go down and take care of these guys pretty quickly if we want. See how much it's trying to get away from the light? And it's the only reason it's making that noise is because its other buddy is blocking its entry. All right. So we're going to come down here in a second. Actually, we'll go ahead and take care of this now. Now, I suggest killing this guy first. He's standing right there in front of us. We can get his loot. A scimitar, that's a good drop. Pick up this item. Alright, and now we're going to come kill these guys. Now they're hanging over the ledge, so you don't want to swing at them. The water on the left side is not like the water on the right. It's deep, and you'll fall in it and die. So it's good because you can use it to your advantage too, but when you walk up to them one at a time, one's going to climb up, step back a little bit, and swing, and he'll fall down. Do not move after that. Wait until he dies. That way your targeting falls off and you won't chase him down into the depths as well. Same thing with this one. Target. Now just wait until your targeting goes away and then you can continue to move forward. So there's a sorcerer vendor up here. This guy is very important to us. So we're going to communicate with him real quick. Now, if you don't have 8 intelligence, he's really not going to do a whole lot for you. So we definitely have 8 intelligence. So this is how we originally communicate with him. He's kind of like Big Hat Logan in the sense where he's a master of sorcery and he's going to help you. He also reinforces the pyromancy flame. And that's something that we're going to get towards the end of this episode. So it's also something that we need to keep in mind. The pyromancy flame is freaking awesome, but that's coming a little bit later on. So we can look at his inventory, and one thing that we're going to buy immediately is the bluestone ring. So we get that. You can see here he's got other consumables that we could use, but it's not worth spending souls on at this point in time. And then this item is really cool. This lowers required intelligence by 1 for a chosen spell. So if you've got a build where you're only going a certain amount of stat allocation in intelligence, and there's one specific spell that you want to cast that requires X amount of intelligence and you're almost there but you don't want to invest another stat in intelligence, this is the type of item for you. So keep that in mind when you're trying to make a build specific to certain spells. Maybe you can make that build work when you thought you couldn't before. Alright, and here's all his spells that he's got for sale. Obviously, we've got the Soul Arrow. We can invest in buying it again and have a whole lot more to cast. And I really think that's the way to go as far as Soul Arrows. I personally think buying every single sorcery, every miracle, every hex, all those things are worth buying because they're always going to be with you. You'll have more and more and more each playthrough, and being able to attune as many casts for a certain spell that might be your favorite as you can is always beneficial. So we're not going to buy this right now because after we beat the boss, he's going to relocate to Mula, so it's not really a benefit to us at this point because we can't attune it at the bonfire without resetting, and we don't want to do that during this episode. So there's really no point in spending souls on this stuff if we could possibly buy something else that's going to benefit us before we get to a bonfire. So for instance, if you wanted this ring or whatnot and you didn't have enough souls to do so after you bought all those sorcery spells, it would be a bad idea. Another good thing to think about is if you didn't have that repair powder on your inventory, 1,000 souls isn't much to pay for a brand new staff with full item endurance where you can actually use it in the boss fight. So keep that in mind if you don't want to use your repair powder on that.
The forces.
So you want to talk to him. Make sure you use all your communication.
Use. Never forget.
Alright, so after that, now he's going to migrate back to Mula after the boss fight. So let's get moving. And you can see just how dark this one area is, and it's still pretty close to that big flying lantern over there. So this area was a real pain in the ass to navigate on a certain darkness setting and not knowing where you're going. So for the newer players, I suggest using that Pharaoh's Lockstone. Alright, so this is the one area where I was telling you about the poison pots, and most people will leave notes, so be wary of poison. That's something that you should rate up. If you ever see something that's a helpful note, you want to click the rate button. It doesn't allow you to downrate it by clicking rate, you just want to leave it there. So we're going to open the door. There's going to be some enemies in here that are basically just chilling. Do not roll into the pot. So we'll kill this one guy and then back out. Let his buddy come. Wow. That was ridiculous. I was looking at my inventory when that guy just rushed out of the door. Now you can see if you're not anticipating an attack, if you're not prepared, even the simplest enemy can pretty much kick your ass. That guy did a lot of damage, and I was just obviously I wasn't prepared for him to attack me. I was just standing there, but I even had my shield up, and he still did a ton of damage by breaking my guard, kicking me, bringing my shield down, and then doing even more damage. So I could have easily died there had I not recovered fast enough. Now, if you're standing in this room, you can hear the sound of something going on, and what that noise is the sound of a crystal lizard. So first I'm just going to break this table, and then I'm going to equip my ranged weapon, and I'm going to target these vases right here, and I want to destroy these guys. You don't have to do both of them, but I like to do it anyways. We'll grab this item, and we get throwing knives and then a flame butterfly. And a flame butterfly, I'll go ahead and read the explanation. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to light torches on the run. So, bottle filled with dried red butterflies. Stimulation of these rare butterflies creates a small flame, allowing torches to be lit on the go. These butterflies exude secretions which ignite upon exposure to air, protecting them from natural predators, known and loved as handy firelighters, but feared as the catalyst of disastrous fires when found in swarms. So yeah, it's just gonna allow you to light your torch while you're moving around, because it's especially useful in this area if you don't use the Pharaoh's Lockstone and you're still struggling to see things. It's definitely something that you want to use to your advantage. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and destroy these vases just in case. Alright, so there our staff is finally at risk. So what we can do is utilize our repair powder. And there we go, back to full strength. Now, we're going to open this chest, and we're just closer to the, basically the secret wall there. And we pick up another shard, and those are ever important, those are always really good. We can improve our Estus flask at the bonfire in Mula. But you hear this sound, and that's the crystal lizard. So you can press A by the wall and it doesn't do anything. There's a note telling you about the illusory wall. Some of the walls, when you press A, they'll open up. Others of them will actually open up by swinging your weapon. So we see the guy there. The annoying thing about crystal lizards is some of your weapons won't actually hit them. So you have to be a certain distance away. You have to know what your swing set's going to be to actually make successful contact with the crystal lizard. It's the same with any enemy that's really low to the ground, and we first realized that when we fought those, I think they're called enslaved pigs back in Mula. They're really little tiny creatures, and they're so low to the ground that it's easy to miss them. If you throw like a thrusting motion or something like that, you're not going to hit the enemy. So you have to know what you're fighting and equip a weapon with a sufficient swing attack pattern to actually do damage to that enemy. Especially a crystal lizard. They'll always be there for you when you come back, but it's annoying if you're completing a level, you've done everything in this area, and then you have to backtrack all the way just to kill that one enemy. Make sure we get all our loot in here. There's a lot of stuff in this room, so it's definitely a good place to pick up your gear. There's a Royal Soldier's Ring, and we're going to check that out in a second. That Fading Soul is probably the worst soul you can get in the game. It only gives you 50 souls. So it's pretty much a joke. And that's the first one you should encounter throughout the game. As far as I understand. We might have got a Fading Soul way, way early, but I don't think so. Alright, so we can check here. And this is probably a good point to replace the Stone Ring. So the Soldier's Ring increases maximum load. And we'll go ahead and read about that. A ring bearing a soldier's seal increases the load that can be carried. These rings were granted to warriors who distinguished themselves in the service of King Vendrick. The king favored simple warriors who staked their every battle on strength alone. Now, I forgot to actually equip my clear bluestone ring. So that's going to help us in the boss fight and just any general time we're casting sorceries. Whatever spell we're casting is going to be cast a little bit faster, so that's always a good thing for us. It allows many different things. It allows stamina recovery to happen quicker because your spellcasting animation is that much faster, so you're going to be able to stop casting quicker. Your stamina recovery begins faster, therefore you can essentially cast more spells more frequently, and you'll be casting them at a faster rate. So it serves multiple purposes. So it's just an all-around benefit for a caster build. Now there's nothing over here. Don't get caught up with trying to explore this area too much. We're almost ready. Now there's going to be a couple levels in this house. So you need to be careful when you're walking around through here. You can get the jump on this guy. And this is the area where we can summon the NPC to help us for the boss fight. And you don't want to do that just immediately. You want to make sure that you clear out as many enemies as you can before you summon them, because you don't want them caught up getting damage against common foes, or even worse, falling off one of the bridges or getting bumped into the water. So we're going to pull this chain, this lever here, to open up this gate. And now we've got a shortcut to get through this area a little bit faster if we come back. So be careful as you move through these zones. You want to be careful when you're swinging your shield, swinging your sword around that chest too. It's a wooden chest, so it's going to break somewhat easily. So you don't want to make too much contact with it. And there you can pick up another repair powder, so that's also good if you didn't already have that one repair powder as well. So there's a guy just waiting for us. Sleepy, sleepy. Now they're still foggy when they get up, so even though they're not sitting down with their back to you, doesn't matter. You can still kind of run it. You're basically going to kill two of them without them ever getting a chance to swing at you. Now don't forget about this item back behind the shelf here. God damn, I hate those ghosts. Every time one of those little spirit things run around, they startle me. So here we get the brigand armor set and the brigand axe, or the bandit armor set and the bandit axe. So let's check it out. The bandit axe is an axe of bandits of the Ferosan outskirts, very sturdily built for the armament of a bandit. When Ferosa fell to war, its citizens were left landless and entirely to their own devices. Many were reduced to thievery, while Ferosan knights scattered to other lands as sellswords. And we can see here it's got a strength requirement of 18, which is pretty high for a weapon like this, and then a 5 dexterity requirement. You know, some people like this item. I don't typically use it, but to each their own. And we can check out the armor set. I'm just going to look at the chest piece. Here is the brigand armor. No wonder. Okay, it's the bandit axe and the brigand armor. That's why I was kind of messed up when I said that. Armor donned by looting brigands. This armor may appear shoddy, but is in fact a very functional piece of work. Its materials meticulously crafted together. Alright, so you can see here that it's not a bad piece of armor. It's actually lighter than the current armor we're wearing, but because we've upgraded this equipment that we have on so much, we don't know the true comparison of this stat at this moment. But if you have an unupgraded chest, you can actually see which one you prefer. This one's a little bit lighter, so it's probably not going to do as much physical damage reduction, even if it's upgraded to the point that the leather chest is. So, but that's something that you can definitely research on your own. So armor is basically a personal preference. I usually wear lighter weight armor. Eventually I wear armor that I just think looks cool once I'm done with my character, but while I'm playing through the character, I wear armor that makes sense to my character build, and I just focus on my certain weight at any moment in time. So right now I'm slightly over 50% in weight encumbrance. So if I wanted to work on that, I could just get rid of that helm. See, that's the problem. And rings actually weigh a little bit. So some of these rings weigh pretty hefty. These two rings are quite heavier than these two rings. So that's also something that you need to pay attention to. Before, rings weighed absolutely nothing. So you kind of find out where's the give and take. What item do you want to wear that is causing you a problem? Obviously, there's rings that you can equip that will increase your equipment load capacities, and you can invest in stats to do so as well. So right now, it's not going to be a big difference for us to be 50.3. We're still not rolling too slow or anything like that, so we're going to be okay. We can handle that. And let's make sure we're not leaving anything else behind here. Okay. Alright, so what you're going to see now is this is the Pharaoh's Lockstone area. So you should be realizing that we've pretty much come full circle to this point. So to get back to where we need to go, we're going to climb up these stairs. Actually, I'm going to point out to you really quickly exactly where we are so you don't get lost. So if for whatever reason you needed to go back and tap the bonfire because you were just out of Estus Flask and you're out of spell charges and all that good stuff, and you just really needed to recover, you can tap the bonfire back here. So here we are, we're at the bonfire. There's the NPC that we're going to summon in a second, but I'm not going to tap it because we're totally fine. And if you did tap the bonfire, you can just sprint all the way through here. Shield up, keep running, and you should be good. I mean, as long as you're sprinting, these enemies are going to have a tough time getting to you. I almost forgot that item, actually. Need to go up there and get that. But once you get to this middle section here, we're going to go up the stairs, and then you can hang a right, and now you're back to this area where the Pharaoh's Lockstone is. Now I need to pick up that item before I forget. Awesome. I don't think we can jump up here. I'm going to try though. Oh, I hate that. Oh, nice. Oh, well, it's not going to do me any good. Whatever. Alright, so we're going to run back up here. I knew there was a reason that I wanted to make that trip back to the bonfire. I would have not seen that I forgot to pick up that item for you guys. Go back up the stairs. down across here. Then we can summon our NPC. Now, you don't want to summon the NPC until you have killed those enemies that are hanging over the bridge. And I'll show you where they're located again, just to remind you. Now, you can drop down here. It's not going to damage you, and it's not going to hurt the NPC. But you want to make sure that they're standing next to you when you proceed any further, because if you just sprint all the way down, they're not going to follow you. They're going to just kind of stand right here. So you need to make sure that all of this shit out here is dead. See, the NPC just kind of gets stupid and it wanders around unless it's standing right next to you. Alright. Now, the guys that were hanging on this pier here, you need to make sure that they're dead, because when you advance further on, they're going to trap you. They're going to come up from behind while you're fighting these other enemies, and that's not going to be good for you. Now there's an archer up top. I didn't want to target that guy while I was rolling. That was a problem. So we already killed the archer on the left. And that's why we didn't have to worry about him. That archer that was over there on that end of the boat, we killed from that sniper spot that I pointed out to you earlier. So there's no loot right here, unfortunately. We're going to make our way down here. No, these aren't loot items. No loot. Just a bunch of boxes to roll through if you want. But this is the boss. And he's pretty easy. The way that we're going to fight him is going to be very easy. But let's make sure that we've got all our rings equipped. Everything that we want. Sometimes you can just change your equipment just for specific boss fights and go back to what you're going to use. So I know I'm not going to use any physical attacks for this fight, so there might be another ring that I could be wearing that could be more beneficial to me right now. And clearly it could be one of the health rings. It's not going to be a thrust counterattack weapon. It could be the enemy poise reduction if I want to be better at stunning them. But basically, I would go with a health providing ring. So we'll just equip this life ring. And the benefit is also it's going to bring me below 50%. So now that I switched out that heavier ring with this lighter weight ring that wasn't doing any benefit for me for the boss fight, I can have this item on and it's going to help me out even more so. Another thing that you want to make sure before you go in there is, okay, I've only got 8 soul arrows and 6 greater soul arrows, so I need to use one more of my amber herbs. So now I've got enough spells to actually kill this enemy. And don't forget that Lucitile is going to be doing some damage as well. And Lucitile is good for this boss fight because they stay in close to the boss, they do some pretty good damage with their sword, and they tank a decent amount of damage as well. So if the boss is fighting them and concentrating on them the whole time, you can just spam cast your spells, and I'll show you where we're going to stand while we do that. So get your catalyst equipped, and you can just hold on to your shield if you want, but you don't want to sit there and try to block the physical attacks from this enemy. So we're going to get behind the pillar, let them target Lucitile, and just go to town on them. And basically, if you're melee fighting this boss, you want to be facing the club side. If you're facing the swords, it's harder to defeat the boss because they're going to deal faster damage to you and they're going to bleed you. And we can switch to our Great Soul Arrow at start if you want to deal even more damage early on. You can see how easy this fight is. I mean, it's a joke. If you do ever get in danger, you can just jump behind this pillar to put a barrier between yourself and the boss. I mean, that's as easy as it gets. A lot of these bosses are really easy when you know how to go about it. So we get a nice chunk of souls. Very nice. we can check out our equipment here. We've got lots of souls to use now, and you can see here that we've got all our boss souls. We've got the Flexile Sentry soul, which is obviously the boss that we just fought. So we are doing pretty good right now. Now there's no reason to go back, we can just move forward. There's nothing to be afraid of here. No loot either, just climb up the ladder. Now we got something over here that we want. Pyromancy Flame and Fireball spell. So this is one of those moments, if you played Dark Souls 1, you've been waiting for this Pyromancy Flame forever. This is an exciting item to pick up, and once we can get to a bonfire and attune the Fireball spell, then we're immediately going to equip the Pyromancy Flame as well. So we'll go over here and examine this, and we get this cutscene. Basically, we're going to travel on the ship across the water here, and it's going to take us to our next zone. This scene right here reminds me of the Goonies a little bit. It'd be crazy to live around the time period when there were pirates on the ocean. I mean, I know there's still pirates on the ocean, but not the type of pirates that I'm talking about. So once you get here, once you cross the ship, or cross the body of water, there's no getting back on here. There's just nothing. So don't try, but it's okay because there's a bonfire just close by, so you don't have to worry about anything. You're not going to take any damage or be in any danger from here to there. I mean, unless you just like fall off the water or something. Now, you can roll around if you want. There's nothing to get here. Don't flip that switch. It doesn't do anything because the elevator's already down. You're going to step on the pressure plate. We're going to ride this to the top. Now, if you face the door, you're going to be able to see an item as we go back up. So that should be a good indicator that, hey, I need to do something to get that item. And if you think long and hard enough about it, you could probably figure out that maybe this elevator has a rooftop and there's a delay by the time this door opens and closes, that I can trick it into letting me stand on it. So you just step on the pressure plate, you let it do its thing, you come to the edge here and you just walk forward. Now we're going to face the wall, and when it gets down to the bottom, we'll be level with the opening in the wall here to grab this item. Ah, yes. So here we get our scimitar and another repair powder. So you can see here, we already picked up a scimitar from one of the loot items that was a random drop, and that's pretty good random drop. Scimitars are really fun weapons to use. So here you go, a small curved sword with a narrow blade. The rapid slashing of the lightweight scimitar hardly allows this victim to catch a breath. Has a sharp blade, but is rather ineffective against armor and hard skin. So it tells you enough that you need to know right there. Yeah, it's a good weapon, but if you're fighting a heavy soldier or some kind of tough armored enemy, you're not going to really do shit. And it's just most of the weapons have common logic applied to them. They really do what they're supposed to do. If you're fighting an enemy without armor, fighting it with fire is going to do a pretty good amount of damage because the flesh is weak to fire. But if you're fighting an enemy with heavy armor, then using something like lightning damage is going to do well because metal is conducive of the electro energy. So it's really good to think about things in that sense. So if you're fighting a boss and you notice something about it, maybe it's got a weakness that you can apply. There's our pyromancy flame as well. I'll go ahead and read about that as well while we're in here. A flame catalyst used by pyromancers. Pyromancers rouse this flame to produce various fine arts. Equip pyromancy flame to produce pyromancy. Attune pyromancies at a bonfire. The strength of a pyromancy depends on the strength of one's pyromancy flame, which can be improved through reinforcement. So the thing that I want to point out about the Pyromancy Flame is that it requires no stats to wear. You don't have to have a special build. Every kind of player can have a Pyromancy Flame. The thing that makes it more effective is having a reinforced flame. So you're going to spend souls and other items to reinforce the Pyromancy Flame. Now, one thing that you got to understand is you have to have attunement as well, because you need to have a way to equip the Pyromancies. So if you don't have enough attunement to have a Pyromancy spell equipped, then having the flame on is pointless. But we'll learn more about that as time goes on. Awesome. So when you're done looting, just drop down the hole here, and you're going to get back on the elevator. Face the doorway once more. There's nothing else to obtain from this doorway, by the way, so if you're wanting to just look around while you're spinning upwards, you can, but you're not going to see anything. Alright. Now, there's items that you can grab in these cell blocks here. So anyone that's open, you want to step into. None of these doors will open if they're closed, so don't worry about that. So you got that item there. Now there's some cells here that will be open. I think it's the third one on the right. Yeah. There's no enemies in here, don't worry about that. So you pick up this item, which is common fruit. So let's take a look at that. That's the first time we've grabbed some of that. And it temporarily reduces or temporarily boost poison resistance. This common fruit has no taste, but when facing a true test of metal, its benefits could make the difference between life and death. Once again, this is foreshadowing of something that's going to come up to you soon, so understand that the game is giving you this item for a reason. You might want to equip it in your inventory. So hey, okay, something is poisonous ahead. Let's put the poison moss there. And let's also put our common fruit there, so that when you encounter that enemy or that item or whatever it is that's going to be inflicting poison damage on you, you've got a better chance to survive it. So here's our bonfire. Go ahead and tap it and then hit it one more time. And you can see this is the exile holding cells. If we go to our travel menu, you can see we're in the Lost Bastille. So if you visit that, then you've got your bonfire where we're at right now. But we're going to go back to Mula, and I'm going to show you where our sorcery vendor has located himself. So before we do anything else, we're going to give her our shard. So upgrade our Estus Flask. Upgrading your Estus Flask is easy to forget about because you're doing all this other stuff since you've received that Estus Flask shard. So now that we've done that, we can look at our level up scenario here. And okay, so we know our attunement is getting pretty close. So we're going to get it to 30, and that's where we're going to stop it. Now it's okay that we spent all those souls to get attunement there. And we didn't buy anything from the vendor just yet. But we've got a lot of souls in our inventory to spend if we need to. So we can look at him.
Oh, this is...
Discuss things with him. If you want, we can reinforce our Pyromancy Flame, but you need a fire seed. You can see here the required item is 1 fire seed. So we'll get those a little bit later on, but we don't need to worry about that too much right now. But we can buy some more spells from him. So I know I want some more soul arrows, and that's all I can buy at this moment in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out, and I'm going to consume the rest of my souls that are sitting in my inventory. And I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to edit so you guys don't have to watch this process. Alright, so we've used all of those souls that we had. We're not going to spend the boss souls, don't do that. Now we've got quite a few souls. It's okay if you don't have the same amount of souls as me. You can always farm. Yeah, I did want to buy. So we're going to go in and we're going to purchase every other spell that he's got. Excellent. And we'll go ahead and head out here. So we've got 8,000 souls left. We can go back to the blacksmith, see if we've got anything that we can upgrade, and then go check out our sword. Okay, we still need one more large titanite. We're going to upgrade our staff one more level, and we can check out our armor. Let's do the legs first. Oops, and we'll go back to the hands there. Alright, so we've upgraded all our equipment that we can at this point, and now we've got some souls left over for leveling up some more.
Bearer, seek less.
So we're going to level up. Let's see. At this point, I'm going to start leveling up dexterity, because that's the main damage modifier for the weapons that we're using when we're doing melee fighting. I'll show you here. Check out our equipment. Alright, so we see here that the Heide Knight Sword, it scales with strength and dexterity, but anything else that we're going to equip weapon-wise typically is going to require more dexterity than it is strength. So we're going to work on dexterity more so than anything else. We'll get that to 20, then we'll get strength to 20, and then we'll work on some other stats also. But for now, this is what we're going to focus on. Also, we need to look into... What was I going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to equip the Pyromancy Flame. And we're going to attune. So I'm going to put on one more of those guys. What is that? Oh, okay, it lined them up. I was going to say it shouldn't have lined up that way, but it lines them all the same spells next to each other, so you can see what it does there. So we're going to equip 2 of these guys as well. And then we're going to do our last spell slot for the Pyromancy Fireball. And the reason I like to use these soul arrows so much is because what we are using the sorcery for is for ranged sniping, killing enemies from as far away as we can, and the whole benefit to that is by having soul arrows. If we use other spells that might be more powerful or more effective in close range, they're not really going to give us the benefit, and we can always change out for specific instances. So if we are fighting a boss and we want to imbue a weapon with magical properties, you know, then we can go to magic weapon and we can use that. So we don't have to necessarily plan on that ahead of time. We're going to stockpile the spells that we use most often and that we're most comfortable and effective with. So that's what we're at right now. This is a good spot to end this episode. Thanks a lot for checking me out, guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Stay tuned for episode number 9, and I'll catch you guys later on. Peace. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out my video and supporting my channel. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on all my social media accounts. And if you're feeling generous, click the donate button. Every little bit goes a long way in improving my ability to continually work on my channel.